You didn't fail, you chose yourself. Let's talk about mom guilt and what it means when you're getting divorced and how you can avoid it. Welcome back to Divorce Den, everyone, where we will be honest with you about ways that you can heal, ways that you can move forward, and you can do it without the guilt. Divorce guilt is far too common. I hear it all the time when people say, well, I didn't just try hard enough. I should have just given it another chance. Maybe they can be better. Guess what? You didn't get divorced on a whim. You didn't decide one night, you know what, this isn't working. I'm throwing my hands up and I'm throwing the towel in and I'm giving up. I know that you gave it a lot of thought. You did try hard. You did give it your all. You went to therapy. You went to counseling. You told your ex what it is that you needed. You weren't getting what you needed. And in order for you to be a full person, a whole person for yourself, for your future, and for your kids, you chose to get a divorce. You didn't do this on a whim. The other one that I hear so many times being used, especially against women, is you're going to break up the kids' home. Guess what? If your kids are living in a home where you and your ex, you and your spouse are not getting along, you're fighting, there's negativity, there's toxicity, there is just anger, even if it's unspoken, that is not healthy for your children. So when people say stay together for the children or try harder for the children, what they are missing is that staying together for the children is actually harming them. You being in a toxic home environment and making your children live in that, that's bad for them. If your children see you living in one home and you are living your best life, you are happy, you are emotionally healthy, you are free, and they see their other parent doing the same in a different household, guess what that does for your kids? It gives them the freedom to explore their own possibilities in the future and the freedom to be themselves in both households, as opposed to walking on eggshells in a house where you're not getting along. And so many times I hear women saying, even when they're in unhealthy relationships, sometimes toxic relationships, they almost get gaslit into believing that this was their fault. And they might say, was this my fault? Is there something else that I could have done? Could I have stayed together for the kids? No, absolutely not. It is not your fault. It is not anyone's fault, aside from any type of abusive relationship. What I'm talking about is just the two of you cannot be married, so the two of you divorce. Then you know what that means? Then you're divorced. There's no reason to feel guilty about it. It was not your fault. Because there is this sense of internalized shame that we feel, especially as women, because we are raised to believe that a long marriage, or any marriage, the big wedding day, the romantic day, that means success. When somebody says to you, oh, I'm engaged, you're gushing and you're so happy for them. And it's, oh my goodness, when's the big day? What is the plan? How is this going to look? How much money are you spending? Where are you going on your honeymoon? It's such a grand event and we put so much time and energy into it. But when somebody says to you that I'm getting divorced, it's, ooh, I'm so sorry. And then you walk away. That is internalized shame and feelings that we have from society saying that marriage is just wonderful. It is this day to be celebrated. But divorce, that's to be shamed. That's for you to feel guilty about. When the truth of the matter is you can feel 10 times better and 10 times more free after your divorce than you did after your wedding. Far too often we are told that divorce is a failure and that women should stay and suck it up. We are responsible for fixing it. Well, I'm here to tell you that is not the case. This is not your burden alone. Another big one that I see is the guilt from women who say, but I'm the one who left. It was my fault. I'm the one who chose this. I'm to blame. Do not blame yourself because you decided to choose your peace and your future over a relationship that was not working. There might be people who judge you about your choice, and even your ex who might weaponize that against you. Well, you're the one who said that you wanted to leave. You're the one who walked out. This is your responsibility. You wanted to leave? Great. You take care of it. You take care of the kids. You take care of the bills. You take care of hiring a divorce mediator or a divorce attorney. Everything is on you, and it's weaponized against you because you decided to choose peace over chaos. And my favorite is when friends or colleagues say, oh my goodness, you're getting divorced, but he was such a nice guy, such a great guy. We had such a good time with him at the holiday party. Really? Did you live with him? Did you have to parent with him? Did you have to parent him? Absolutely not. Do not feel guilty about other people's interpretations of your relationship. You live on the inside of it. You know better than anyone. Because the truth is, if you leave, that doesn't mean there wasn't any love. That doesn't mean you didn't love him. What it means is the love has changed and it has shifted. Maybe it's gone away. But it doesn't negate the love that you had and the foundation that you built your relationship on. It just means the foundation now is gone. It has shifted. It is not working anymore. It is not sustainable anymore. And it doesn't mean you didn't try. People do not give up on marriages because they just don't feel like it anymore. Today's Tuesday. I don't feel like doing it anymore. There are small steps that are taken from the time that you're married or from the time that the relationship starts to shift until the time that you decide that you want to get a divorce. And those small shifts can lead to big, massive impacts. In other words, if it's just that they're not picking up their socks, nobody gets divorced because your husband isn't picking up their socks. However, it's a sign of disrespect when there is a pattern of not picking up the socks, not doing the dishes, not helping with the care of the children, expecting you to make dinner every night even though you worked all day. There's a pattern, and it builds and it builds and it builds. It doesn't mean you didn't try. What it means is that you stopped accepting less. You are now expecting to get exactly what you're putting into a relationship. And if you're not, then live on your own, right? You're deciding that you're going to live on your own and you're going to give it your all. Your house, your life, yourself. You're going to give that to yourself instead of giving all of that energy away. That's all it means, is that it's shifting. It doesn't mean you didn't love each other. It doesn't mean you didn't try. What it means is now you're going to try to help yourself, work on yourself for your future. Honestly, choosing to end a marriage is sometimes the absolute bravest thing that I see women do. Now, while I'm not playing a therapist here, what I am going to tell you is there might be a time when we have to turn this inward and start unpacking why it is that we feel that internalized shame. Does it come from our cultural background? Maybe it does. Does it come from our family? Do you hear your mom's voice in the back of your head saying, no, you have to stay married? Does it come from our religion? Maybe you need to see a therapist to start unpacking that. Because the truth is, in order for you to heal fully, in order to be in any relationship later, and I don't mean to go jumping into another relationship with, to get a spouse, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, none of that. What I'm saying is any relationship, a friendship, relationships with colleagues, anyone that you want to form a deep connection with, it might be a good idea now to start exploring where does that internalized shame come from? Because these are expectations that are put on us from day one for years. Years and years of this being dumped on us, it's going to take a while to process and start to unpack that and start to back out of that so you don't feel shame. So conditioning is real. From the time that we are children, we are conditioned and molded and taught to live a certain way, speak a certain way, do things a certain way. And as women, we are absolutely taught to cherish the day that we get married. Why do you think there's so much money and media and press spent on a wedding day? It's huge. Nobody talks about the marriage. They talk about the wedding day. And who's in charge of that and whose day is it? It's the bride's day. It's the woman's day. It's all about you choosing to have this big elaborate wedding, picking the perfect wedding dress, having the perfect engagement ring. But at the end of the day, that is a moment. That is one moment in your life, and those are the expectations that are put on you from the time you are a child. You should be planning out your perfect wedding day. Nobody ever talks about finding a partner who's actually going to be contributing emotionally, financially, in a million other ways. What they talk about is plan the best wedding day. What does that mean in the long run? Think about that. If these are the expectations that have been put on us, we've been conditioned this way since we were very young, it's going to take us a while to unpack it and start thinking about how am I going to make my best future without that conditioning, or at least with a little bit less of it. Remember, this shame is not yours. It was handed down to you from generation to generation, from culture to culture. It is all being placed on your shoulders because it was placed on somebody else's shoulders. You now have the opportunity, you have the strength, and you have the resources to stop that, to break that cycle. Why not reframe your divorce as a choice and not a failure? You get to play out the narrative that you want to tell people. My divorce is a choice that I made, or it's a choice that me and my soon-to-be ex made. It is not a sign of failure. What it is creating a new future. And sometimes that can be the most generous, the most loving, and the most selfless thing that you do. Staying in a marriage that doesn't work and forcing people to stay in this tight environment, that is selfish. You are choosing to move forward in a selfless and meaningful way, and that should be celebrated and that should be rewarded. And if you choose to move forward getting a divorce, you can actually teach your children what are boundaries. What does a boundary look like? Where is that line in the sand? How can I now show you what it is that I expect, how it is that I expect respect, and how it is that I'm going to give it? You can teach your children that by getting divorced in a respectful way. You can show them what self-respect is. I'm not going to live in an environment that is toxic, where I'm getting treated badly, where I'm being spoken to in a certain way. I choose to respect myself and I am leaving that environment. You're teaching your children that they can also expect the respect. And you are teaching your children, especially your young ladies, that love or a relationship should never come at the cost of their own self-identity. That is something that I wish so many more women knew, young girls knew, and you now have the opportunity to teach your children that. So remember, you didn't fail. You just refused to live in a life where your life was on autopilot and you were just shrinking. No, now is your time to shine. Now is your time to step into your new future and be your best and biggest and brightest self. So if you are feeling guilty about either choosing to get divorced or you are already divorced and you're still feeling that guilt, let me be very clear here. You are not broken. You are not a failure. You are not selfish for choosing a better version of your new life. If you found any of this valuable, please like and subscribe and share with anyone else who needs to know there should be no shame or guilt when it comes to getting divorced. We will see you soon on Divorce Den.